Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this very special marquee presentation. My name is Jay LaPlante, and I am the festival's Executive Director and Co-Director of Programming. Tonight, we are honoring the incomparable Rita Moreno with Miami Film Festival's Precious Gem Icon Award. Following our presentation, we will be welcoming Mark Malkin, Senior Culture and Events Editor from our media trade partner Variety, who will speak with Rita about her incredible career and the new documentary, Rita Moreno, Just the Girl Who Decided to Go For It, which we will be screening for you immediately following that conversation. And now, to pay tribute to Rita Moreno, I would like to introduce my colleague, Miami Film Festival's Co-Director of Programming, Lauren Cohen.
Thank you, Jay. It comes as no surprise that Rita Moreno has won all 4 major awards in show business: an Oscar, a Tony, 2 Emmys, and a Grammy. With a career that spans more than 7 decades, Rita made her Broadway debut at the age of 13 and went on to star in some of the most beloved Hollywood musicals ever made, with supporting roles in classics such as Singin' in the Rain and, of course, her iconic turn as Anita in West Side Story, which she won an Academy Award for, the first Latina to ever do so. She's appeared in over 40 feature films, including Carnal Knowledge, The Four Seasons, and The Ritz, in which she reprised her Tony Award-winning role as Googie Gomez. And she's tackled television with the same remarkable output and zest, starring in 9 to 5, HBO's Oz, Jane the Virgin, and Norman Lear's 2017 Latinx remake of One Day at a Time. Anytime Rita's on screen, she has this undeniable fire and honesty that translates through every frame. An enormously talented actress, singer, and dancer, Rita is the queen of the art of screen command. When the lens is on her, you can't tear your eyes away. She's a born performer and has spent her entire career paving the way for other Hispanic American performers to share the light with her. As is made abundantly clear in Rita Moreno, Just a Girl Who Decided to Go For It, representation matters, and Rita Moreno made it a point in her career to refuse one-dimensional stereotypes. She's a role model to all of Hollywood, and in Miami in particular, her boundary-breaking work holds a special significance to the Latin community. And we're thrilled to be joining the chorus of the many, many, many others that have recognized Rita Moreno for her outstanding contributions to Hollywood cinema. Rita Moreno, I am so honored to be able to directly thank you for everything you've done for show business by presenting you with Miami Film Festival's Precious Gem Icon Award.
They don't tell you when you start out that one day you will be the writer, director, producer, and actor in your own story. It's true for all of us. Most stories are never played on the big screen, but they are projected in the lives of the people who are our friends, associates, family, partners, lovers, and some whom we just meet along the way. I suppose I could say each part of my story was intentional, planned, mapped out towards some lofty goal. But the truth is it wasn't. It's just the life I have lived, the life I'm still living. So, if I've learned anything along the way, take notes, review the footage, make cuts, and rewrite as necessary. You know, I'm so humbled that PBS and Act 3 thought that my story was worth telling and that the Miami Film Festival has made it part of their offering this year. I'm really so thrilled. And please, accept my sincere thank you for this fabulous award. And can I tell you a secret? I'm working on my sequel.
Hello, Rita. How are you?
Hey, I love your shirt. Look, you and I are perfect. I wish I was there for more than one reason. However, this is pretty terrific.
I think we would be dancing together right now if we were in Miami.
I wouldn't mind, and I think it would be a salsa. I would force you to do a salsa.
So let's talk about this documentary. I've seen it. I'm such a fan of it. It's just a beautiful work that really just shows the span of your lifetime and the influence that you've had. What did you think when they came to you?
You really are a fan of it, really?
Yes, yes, of course.
To hear that. Well, there's not much feedback when you do these kind of things. So I'm thrilled to hear that. Thank you.
So what was it like when they came to you and said, hey, we want to do this documentary about your life? And was this, I imagine other people had asked you to do this in the past.
Nobody had ever asked me to do it until this time. Yeah, you're shocked. So was Brent Miller and Norman Lear, who were producing it, who would want to produce it. They were shocked that I had never been asked. And I did have to think about it because, as with my book, if I'm going to do something like this, that essentially will have to be revealing. I mean, how do you do a life without revealing a lot of your life? So I really had to think about it, because now it wouldn't be like a book. There would be people looking at this, not reading it, and I wouldn't know about it, that kind of thing. So I did think about it for a while, and then I decided to do it, mostly in terms of what Brent Miller really said to me. He said, think of all of the Hispanic people who would be seeing this, who would be learning about your life, not the glamorous part necessarily, but your real life, and how they might take inspiration from it or not, or take lessons from it. And that's what sold me. I thought, that's good. That's good. And God knows I've lived a long life. I am now at this very moment 89. And this is the time. I thought this is a great time to do it. But I did make a promise to myself that I would be as truthful as I could possibly be. Or why do it? I mean,
let's talk
line?
Well, let's talk about that truthfulness, because obviously in your book, you were very truthful. Here, you're very truthful. Is it a little nerve-wracking? Is it sort of walking out there naked and saying, this is me?
It's nerve-wracking, not so much in a book, because you don't have to face anybody. It's nerve-wracking when you're asked a really serious and deep question that would reveal a side of you that you're not necessarily thrilled about. That is nerve-wracking. And you will notice, or you may have noticed, that there were certain hesitations on my part when certain things were asked of me. But I made a promise to myself, and you have to keep promises, especially to yourself. It's very important, but it was scary.
So what were the parts where you hesitated? Where were you most nervous?
About my husband.
Why is that?
For several reasons, one of which was that he was an extraordinary person. And he was probably the best father a child could ever have. Really, he was a wonderful daddy and a great grandfather. And he was a very loving man. But ultimately, it became untenable for me that he became also a very controlling person. I mean, almost a ridiculous degree. And I had to say those things because I was bound to be asked, well, why did you separate if he was so great? And I had to tell the truth. And I just was very nervous about that, because I did want people to understand that he was a marvelous human being. But the moment you say controlling, people tend to think of somebody who's a bit of a brute, or a lot brute. And he was anything but that, anything but that. He was a wonderful person, but not good husband material in the long view.
So let's go back to your early days.
Which doesn't mean that I was a terrific wife either. It's two of one. It's always two. Yes, right. You got it.
So let's go back to your early days. You step on the lot, and as you said, people didn't say hello to you. Did you ever think that day you would be here at 89, an EGOT winner, getting lifetime achievement awards, being looked at as a role model, not just for young Hispanic, Latinx people, but just young people in general. Did you ever think that day that this would happen?
Never, not for one moment. It didn't even occur to me where I would then dismiss it. Didn't occur to me at all. And I'm glad you asked that, because this is important to remember. You don't start out in life saying, I'm going to be the role model of all time. It turns out I really am. I can say that with complete honesty and no embarrassment. But you don't start out with that in mind. And it never occurs to you when you're going through those horrible moments of being called spick or garlic mouth and all those kind of mean things that people can conjure, that you somehow have the stuff that helps you to somehow get through that. And I apparently do. My mom was like that too. She was sweet and kind and funny, and she had this delightful Puerto Rican accent. She talked like that. And she would talk about changing the shits on the bed, and going swimming at the beach. She was really a darling, wonderful woman. But she was also a very ignorant person. She had no education. So she had not even an iota of sophistication. So needless to say, at some point in our lives, we started to clash.
So what would you say to little Rita, who's just starting out in Hollywood? What would you say to her today?
I would start saying, remember that you have value. Remember that you are worthy. Because of all that I went through in New York City, when I came from Puerto Rico, I really got the impression that I had nothing to offer the world. How I came to the conclusion that I could be a movie star is a childish kind of fantasy and a wish. If I had had the sophistication to say that to myself, I would have saved myself a lot of psychotherapy and all kinds of stuff. And think of the money I could have saved. But it wasn't to be.
Do you, in all these years, do you have a favorite role?
I'll tell you, I loved a role I did in a movie called Poppy.
Tell us about that.
P-O-P-I with Alan Arkin, where Alan played a Puerto Rican. I mean, nowadays, I don't think they kill him. Not him, but they would kill the director, producer. I thought it was a wonderful role where we played Puerto Rican people of Puerto Rican descent who had certain problems that you would only have if you came to America from Puerto Rico. And the other role I loved, and boy, Georgia never got to see it because the Superior Court said not a chance, was a film called Carnal Knowledge with Jack Nicholson. And it was marvelous, brilliant movie. But it was a movie that should have at least been nominated in several categories. And nobody even touched it because it had to do with men's view of women as chattel. And I'm using polite words, of course. But Jack was brilliant in it. I mean, you really hated him. He was wonderful in it. And I played, at the very end of the movie, I played a prostitute whom he hires to talk him into arousal. Don't you think I put that really well?
Talk him into arousal. You're talking about a movie that's called...
How do I describe this part?
By the way, it's a movie called Carnal Knowledge, so you're doing okay.
Thank you. Actually, that movie should have been nominated in many categories. I guess I said that. And I think in another life, my role might have been nominated because it was so unusual. She does this mile-long monologue, And I can't tell you what that's about because then I'd be in serious trouble. And it's not because bad words were said, they weren't, but it's what she was saying as a prostitute to this man who could not be aroused otherwise. Okay, that was good too.
That was really good. That was a very good version.
But you know, the best part about that is that at the time, are you ready? I was doing a show called The Electric Company, a reading show for little kiddies. I mean, kiddies to learn how to read. This was the show. I know, I can see you're shocked. This was the show that followed Sesame Street.
Right. Yeah. No, I grew up in New York. I knew The Electric Company very well.
Right. Wonderful show. But can you imagine how the producer felt after we had been on a hiatus? And I really wanted to do this movie because I just thought this is Jules Pfeiffer wrote it, the animated, the cartoonist.
Right.
And I just thought I need to do this. And my husband said, I don't want you to do this. This is a porny. And I said, no, you're really missing the point, as many people did. And when I told him what I had done in our hiatus, literally the blood left his head, traveled down his body, and settled in a pool around his ankles. And I said, I'm sorry, but I just had to do this, and nobody told me I couldn't do it. So I did it. And so Georgia never got to see it. The Supreme Court said, no.
So let's talk about the night of the Oscars. You win an Oscar. You hear your name said. What's the first thing that went through your mind?
You know, I don't know. I was so overwhelmed that I just got up. I was sitting next to George Chakiris, who's always been my friend, still is. Mm-hmm. My mom grabbed me from the back because I made sure that she was there in case. But I remember this much: as I left the row of seats and started to walk down the aisle, I said to myself, don't run. It's not dignified. Because I saw so many actresses in the past run to the stage. And the reason for that, by the way, is that you don't want the audience to stop applauding before you get to the stage. That's really the reason. And I said, I don't care if the applause stops, do not run. It happened that the applause didn't stop because West Side Story was a huge favorite. Though I really, really, really did not believe I could win. And that's why I made that unforgettable 2-line acceptance.
2 lines.
2 lines. I said, I don't believe it. Pause. Good Lord. Pause. I leave you with that.
Let's go back.
And I really was so sad that I didn't think of my people, you know, the Puerto Rican community, Hispanics, outliers. But I simply was not that sophisticated at the time. And I always regret it. I make fun of myself so that it's funny, but it's not funny to me, really.
I think you've made up for it.
Oh, yes.
And the years that have come, you've been okay. So I do want to go back a second. Your mom is behind you. Like, I'm getting emotional thinking about that. You brought your mom. You came from Puerto Rico to New York. Wow, like I am getting emotional because it all comes back to moms, doesn't it? You brought your mom to the Academy Awards. What did your mom think? She steps into what was going through her mind.
First, for starters, I want you to watch the reel because you could see it on, I think YouTube has it. And you'll see her grab me very quickly. She was just right in back of me. And she was overwhelmed. She started to cry. I think George Chakiris was just beyond himself. He was so thrilled because I was one of the last nominees in that evening. George, I think, was the actual first as Best Supporting. And then it went on from there, with all the technical awards. So I was really I was one of the last, because the very last was Sophia Loren for Two Women, and she didn't show up that night. When I met her at the Academy Movie Theater, I reminded her of that we hugged and kissed. It was gorgeous. And then Max, oh gosh.
Sydow? Max von Sydow?
No, the other, from the movie, the one that Judy Garland was up for also.
For, now I'm forgetting.
Judgment at Nuremberg.
Yes.
He was the male winner. And so there are pictures of me with Max, but Greer Garson, because Sophia was afraid to come, apparently. And it was so great to finally meet her about 6 months ago. Oh God, couldn't keep my hands off her. And she's so lovely, by the way.
So after you win the Oscar, you didn't do a film for, according to the documentary, 7 years.
I showed them, didn't I? I said, okay, I'm not going to do any more of those Conchita Lolita roles, which I'd been doing till then also. And I turned down the few things I was offered. It's not like I was inundated with offers. And I didn't do a movie for about 7 years. It broke my heart. It just broke my heart.
What did your
A couple of gang movies, less on a much lesser scale.
And when you spoke to your, as they call them, your team, your agents, your managers, what did they say to you at the time?
I don't understand this. I don't know. I don't understand it. And the worst part for me, I tell you, show business, you've got to be tough and yet keep your tenderness somewhere where it's available. They said, well, submit me for some stuff that's not Hispanic necessarily, just art. And they went and did that, and they wouldn't even see me. They wouldn't even see me. Do you know how that hurts? They wouldn't even see me because I said, tell them that I'll read for them. I'll read the part. And I think I could do this particular one. I would know that there was something happening at some studio. And they wouldn't even let me show my face and do a scene without an accent, as it turns out.
And when did it start to turn? When did Hollywood say, you know what? Rita is not just that. We could see her for other things.
I don't think that happened. You're assuming that somewhere along the line, I did do Poppy, wonderful movie with Alan Arkin. And I did, And I did, yes. And that's when I thought, oh, goody, the typecasting's over forever. When I did Carnal Knowledge.
Right.
She's not a necessary, not that I minded playing Hispanics, it's that I very much minded playing those horrible, what's the word? This is what happened when you're 89. I forget words. Stereotypes.
Stereotype, yeah.
Oh, thank you, brain. Thank you. You don't know how maddening and frustrating that is. Because I'm a very articulate person. It drives me crazy. Nouns and I are on the outs.
So let's fast forward a little bit. You're getting these roles. At what, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but at what point did you realize, like, I am a role model. I am a trailblazer. I'm doing things no one did before.
That didn't occur to me for the longest time. You wouldn't believe it. I had, in and out, I had 8 years of psychotherapy, which is probably the best thing I ever did for myself, other than having my beautiful daughter. But that just, what matters is that one day in Chicago, I was playing in the Rose Tattoo. You see, I could still do theater without all that typecasting stuff. And this was a Tennessee Williams play. And I was a huge success in it. And it was picked up over and over and over again because people were buying the tickets. It was amazing. It was wonderful. And I realized opening night when people stood up, this had never happened to me before. Wow. He stood up for me. I feel like Sally saying,
they like me, they like me.
But I was astonished. It never occurred to me that people would react that way to my abilities as an actress. And that's when I began to get more confident. This was after West Side Story, I'm
Wow.
sad to say.
You've also obviously been very open about your experience with sexual assault, rape, obviously emotional assault. Now, in an era of Me Too and Time's Up, do you feel like we've sort of caught up to you? Because you've been talking about this for a while. This isn't something new that you just started talking about. And it seems like Hollywood is obviously just talking about it.
Well, I don't know that Hollywood has caught up to me yet. I really don't know. It's not like people are knocking my door down. Let's just tell it like it is. We'll see in the next year or so between this wonderful documentary and West Side Story. We'll see what happens. But sometimes I have a feeling that people can't get rid of an image in their heads. They just can't. They can't deal with that. It's too difficult for them. And I might just be one of those people who's too difficult for them. I don't know. We'll see in the next year or so.
Is it amazing to you, though, to see in Hollywood right now people talking about the Me Too movement, Time's Up, that we're in a time period where it seems that women and victims of sexual assault and sexual abuse and harassment are allowed to speak up and that they're being heard? Did you ever think?
Oh gosh, I think it's great. I think it's the best thing that's happened to society. Not just American society, because it's spreading everywhere. Lots of women in France and in Italy and almost everywhere are saying, wait a minute, I have value. I am worthy. What's going on here? They're questioning the social fabric that has been existing for years and years and years and years. And I do think it's going to bring about more of a change than has happened so far. It's going to be slow. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, such as it is, but I think it's really going to swell. I think as a female, it's so amazing to me that there are women now who think they are worthy. I didn't for the longest time. It took years and years and years and psychotherapy. And my doctor actually got me to say, I was very lucky. I found a wonderful person. He actually got me to say one day, I'm a good person. I am worthy. And I burst into tears. And about 2 weeks later, I said to him, I think I'm done with therapy. And I said, if there any difficulties arise, I'm not shy about coming back. And he was very moved too. And I said, and by the way, you could not have done this without me.
What did your grandkids think when they saw and read in your book your stories about Marlon Brando, your stories again about sexual assault and harassment? What did your grandsons say?
They haven't read the book. And they have not seen the documentary yet. They are now young men. The only thing I fear is that they will misunderstand what my disagreement was with their grandpa, who was a marvelous grandpa. Oh my God. It should happen to everyone. And that's why I hope that I made it very clear that he was a wonderful man. It just didn't work. I don't know how they will perceive it. I don't know. And I don't know how delighted they would be to learn that their grandma, whom they've always thought of as a strong, loving person, could get raped. So it's up to my daughter and to tell them when she feels the time is right.
And last question for you. Your advice to a young Latinx woman starting off in this business. What do you say to her?
Stick to your vision. Stick to what you really, really want more than anything else to do. And that does not mean just show business, obviously. That means that you want to be a scientist, you want to be a school teacher, you want to be a philosopher. Stick to that notion. Here's what I would say to them. Don't ever let anyone meddle with your view of what is good for you.
And just go for it.
Yes. The girl who decided to go for it. I love that title. Do you like it?
It's absolutely, it says everything. It says
does.
it's not full of ego, but there's a confidence there, but there's humility in it. If that makes sense.
I like the word just a girl.
Yeah.
That's what makes it special. And it was on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And I remember having a friend of mine jewel the t-shirt, and I used it for an opening night somewhere. I forget what it was. And then when it came time for the title, we couldn't come up with anything that kind of lived up to this particular title.
Well, you're a girl who just went for it. I'm very happy you went for it. I think a lot of other people are very happy you went for it. Thank you again, Rita. It's always so fantastic talking to you.
It's so terrific to see you again.
Same
and
here.
God bless your shirt. I'm putting blessings on your shirt.
And hopefully next time we get to see each other in person.
I hope so.
Take care of yourself and be well.